Hello and welcome back to the workshop. You might remember a while ago I made a video on how to get PAL games working in NTSC, and I kind of wanted to make an updated video on it, just to maybe a better explanation and a better method to do it. In that video I think I was using the older version of the import player, but there's actually a newer version that has some improved features and better compatibility, so let's take a look at that. Now before we get into it, since then there have been multiple methods of getting games to work, getting PAL games to work in NTSC. One of these is something I would immediately steer everyone away from on PlayStation 2. It's called GSM. I can't recommend using GSM, it causes so many problems and it's just not a good solution, I think. That being said, there have been some great improvements on PlayStation 2 front. If you own a PS2 that is a PAL console from 75,000 to 90,000, the SCPH number, then you can install Mechapon on it and put it into an American region and it will play PAL games forced into NTSC. Now this doesn't always turn out great, but a lot of the times it works. The only downside is that you cannot really switch back to PAL, or at least you'd have to switch the region back. So it's always going to be an NTSC. Also, your game will have to have a screen adjustment option, which some actually don't, so it doesn't really work well with every PAL game out there. Another option is the free PSX boot method, which is essentially a hacked memory card. You just boot into your memory card menu, and then it's super easy to set up. Everyone's already seen that. It's nothing too fancy. You just select PAL to NTSC, and it will boot the PAL game into NTSC. I don't like this method either. It's nice. It does do a pretty good job with image centering, so you're not going to be having too much of the image cut off, but my main problem with it is the compatibility. There are so many games that just do not work and just randomly restart after a while. It's not a good solution. My preferred method to this day is none other than Import Player Lite. I think in my video I showed Import Player Alpha 2.0. This is a newer version. There's also a 2.2 hanging out online you can find. It doesn't seem to be much different than 2.1, so it doesn't really matter which one you get. But this is the best method, I think, to get PAL games to work in NTSC. Now, there will be some compatibility issues with some games, but it's been improved greatly since the alpha version. So the process of getting your PAL games to work in NTSC is really simple. There's a missing PlayStation logo there, don't worry about that. That is just this version of the import player. So you just basically go down to video mode, select NTSC, and then hit start game. And that will make your PAL games run in NTSC. This time I'm going to be using Need for Speed Porsche 2000. PAL version. If you want to play an NTSC game with this boot CD, like let's say your PlayStation isn't able to play NTSC games by default, and you need to use a boot CD, don't select NTSC. Select off if you're trying to play an NTSC game in NTSC, because forcing it into NTSC causes some problems sometimes. And yes, you can force an NTSC game into NTSC, even though it doesn't really make sense. So you will see that the image is a little bit shifted down, and that is because we're trying to force a PAL image into an NTSC frame. So 288 pixels into lines into a 240 line image. There's a shortcut with which you can adjust the image. It's good for those games that don't have a screen adjuster option in the options. Not sure if you can do it during the videos, but the shortcut is you have to press L1, R1, L2 and R2 at the same time, and then you can press up and down on your D-pad to move the image. Let's see if it works. Okay, I just skipped the video with that, but I think you can adjust it on this screen right here. So this is the language select. You can just press these buttons, press up on the D-pad, and there you go. We moved it up as far as it will go. Most games will have an image adjuster, and you can just use that. But it's a neat feature for those that don't have it. As you can see, that pretty much does the same thing. But you don't want to change it, obviously, because we already changed it. This game actually has a widescreen mode, so that's interesting. But I'm not going to enable it now because I'm going to be showing different games as well. So obviously, what this does is it will, for the games that are only 25 FPS, it will make them 30 FPS. The games that are running at 50 FPS, it will make them 60 FPS. And sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes not. Some games are, like I said, adjusted to PAL, but this one in particular, I don't think it is. It feels perfectly fine at 60 Hz. One other thing you might want to do is currently it looks like I have overscan enabled on my monitor. So if we just simply disable that, then we should be able to get a larger image. I mean, we should be able to get more of the image on the screen. I forget, I think it's here, yeah. Oh, overscan is currently off actually. All right. Right, so you definitely want to make sure that overscan is off, so you get the most out of the image. We can't quite see the speedometer right now, but that might just be down to my scaler and it's like specific resolution. I think if I use it in a different resolution, it might work better. I'm using an OSSC and it's currently in 4x mode. I believe in 720p you might be able to see more of the image. So yeah, some stuff might hang off at the bottom. Honestly, it's like not really a deal breaker for me any occasion. I've never had any issues with that. Alright, let's check out a better game. So here we have Driver 2. Awesome game. PAL version. Forced into NTSC. This one does something weird. When you force the PAL version into NTSC, it does something kind of odd. So depending on what platform you're playing it on,
I'm gonna pop your neck with my hands.
It will display the videos in a different resolution. When I tried this game on a PS2 and was forcing it into NTSC, it was always NTSC. However, when using a PS1, for whatever reason the videos switch back into PAL, and I'm not sure why that is. It's very odd, but honestly it's not really a big deal. It's just I found it interesting. It doesn't do that on PS2, so that's why I don't really know why that happens. But with this specific boot CD, the videos are PAL. And even if I use the same boot CD on a PS2, like a 30,000 model fat PS2, it doesn't do that. Like the videos are still NTSC, so I'm not sure. This only happens on PS1s. So as you'll see, it will actually switch into PAL mode. Up there you'll see the frequency switch to 50 Hz, when the video starts playing. So yeah, 49.64 Hertz. Not quite sure why. But once we skip the video, we're back in action at NTSC 240p. And we've pushed the image up a bit, so it should be a bit more, you know, in center. Still, some of it will be missing on the bottom. That's normal for a lot of games. Because, like I said, we're trying to fit a larger image into a smaller canvas. Something will have to be cut off, but we'll still get the nice 60 Hz to 240p experience. So, this is another example where something weird happens.
Jones here. We got ourselves some action. I found our witness, and he's real jumpy. Getting ready to make a move. Get your butt over here before he blows.
So the music in this is actually timer based on the frame rate, and therefore it plays too fast. I personally don't actually mind it. It sounds kind of cool, but it's not the original. So it plays a hair fast, and also there's a weird glitch with this one car. You see how there's like a fender cover thing on the rear right tire, but only there. And also the bumper is a little bit glitched. I don't know why, like there's a little chunk missing on the right side. So this game does exhibit some glitches. Especially once you get to Rio de Janeiro. I've noticed a couple cars that were just completely invisible and you could only see the tires. It's not a game-breaking glitch, but it's worth noting, I thought. Some games might be like this. But honestly, it's perfectly playable. I'd much rather play this game like this. If I only had the PAL version, I'd much rather play it like this than at the slower 25 FPS frame rate, which is just super slow. Feels a lot smoother like this than in PAL.
He's making a move. He's in the blue sedan across the street.
Where?
Take the green sedan heading out from the obelisk.
Fun fact, the warp where you skip over to Rio from the first mission works in the PAL version as well. Oh yeah, there it is. This is what I was talking about. Invisible car. So this can happen with this boot CD sometimes, but only in Rio, interestingly enough, I think. Not sure why. You could even drive it, actually. It's kind of cool. There we go. This is the same method I used when playing all those different language versions of Harry Potter as well. That's actually a really good use for it too, if you want to play a game in a specific language, but they only have it in, you know, PAL. Then using this boot CD can be pretty useful. Or for some games that are only available in PAL territories, such as this one. This one is a super late release, I believe 2003, maybe? It's a port of an old game though, so nothing too crazy. So Soccer Kid is only available in PAL, but we've just forced it into NTSC so we can play it at 60 Hz. Let's try and see if I can do the shortcut. There we go. And we push the image up. Which is good because this game doesn't even have an image adjuster at all. It's really loud. I'm going to turn it down. So yeah, this game doesn't even have an image adjuster, as you can see, so we had to use the shortcut. I'm also no good at this game, so yeah. As you can see, it's playing at 60 FPS, which is awesome. It's even more nauseating than before. There's a bit of screen tearing actually on the bus, I think. It's not too bad, but yeah, it's noticeable. Ow. This game is just weird. But there you go, now you can play it in NTSC. Some games I know that will have problems are Gran Turismo. I could not get into NTSC whatsoever. Seems to be just always reverting back to PAL if I try to use the this program. The only way I could get it to work in NTSC was using my PS2, Slim PS2 with Mechapon. However, that wasn't a good solution either, because some game developers just think that they're better than others. So Polyphony Digital didn't think to actually include an image adjuster for their game because it's already perfectly centered anyways. So if you try to play the PAL version on a Mechapon PS2 with a different NTSC region, then it will just be like this. The image will be shifted down and it's kind of not great. And you might say that, well, Gran Turismo PAL is adjusted for PAL, but you're still only getting 25 FPS instead of 30, so it's not great. I wonder if I can image adjust this one. So this is GTA 1, and I know that this one has some problems in NTSC. So I wouldn't recommend playing this in NTSC. You'd just be better off hunting down the NTSC version of the game. Doesn't seem like I can adjust the image, and also the game has no image adjuster because it's an old game. Mostly older games will not have image adjusters. That only came later. But yeah, this one, nope, doesn't seem like it wants to shift at all. So we're stuck with this, you know, the bottom being cut off. No image adjustments whatsoever. That's sad. And yeah, there are some gameplay problems as well, you'll see soon. Sometimes the image adjuster will not work on some screens, but will work on other screens, so you just have to keep pressing the shortcut and hope that it works, because sometimes it will work on loading screens, sometimes it will work in pause menus, but not gameplay and stuff like that. It's really weird. Sometimes it doesn't work on main menus, for example. It's just, I don't know why, but it seems to behave differently depending on what screen you are in the game. And yeah, I still can't adjust the image, so it's not moving anywhere. So, yep. This one is definitely stuck like this, but that's not the only issue we have with this game. Whenever there's a car that has music coming out of it, it is tied to the frame rate. The loop interval is tied to the frame rate. So you'll see that if we find a car that has music blasting, then it's gonna sound weird. Let me see if I can find one. I think... Does this one play music? I think this one does. Here. Oh, wait, maybe it was the Jeep. Okay, there's music from this one too. Let me turn it on for a sec. So I'm not sure if you can hear it, but it loops too early because of the frame rate being higher. It counts how many frames passes between the loops, and therefore it's messed up. So it's not the end of the world, like it's a minor thing. I would still consider this to be playable, but I think the main deal breaker is I cannot adjust the image. I cannot move it up or down. This game might work better with the older version import player, 2.0, because that one doesn't seem to push the image down so much. So with that you might have better luck, but you might run into other issues, other glitches. So if one game doesn't seem to work well with this version, you should just try a different version. But generally speaking, 2.0 seems to have more issues than 2.1 and 2.2 in terms of compatibility. And also you might be lucky to get get games working on the soft mode method. Free PSX boot, but I've not had a lot of luck with it. It seems very patchy. A lot of games don't work properly, so let's try out one more game. This one is the PAL version of Quake 2. Never really tried this much, but I believe it should work fine. It's already an NTSC, so that's a good sign. Image again is a bit shifted, but I think we can fix it. Let's see if it comes with a image adjuster. Perfect. I don't know why some games don't have this. That's ridiculous. Oh, you can actually push it quite far up in this one. That's interesting. I've never seen anything like that. Usually there's a limit to how far you can push it up. This one is like, you can make a clip out of the top as well. So let's just try to center it. I would have appreciated a couple adjustment, like an adjustment crosshair would have been nice to see if I can, line it up properly, but this looks about right, I think. Maybe we could push it up a bit more, we'll see. Alright, let's check out the gameplay. Okay, the video is definitely pushed up a bit, that's nice.
Do this by the numbers, folks. We don't want any fender benders out here. Keep an eye on those inertial dampers so you splash on impact. This section, start your status check. Short punch, check. Carfunkel, check. Engine, check. Animal, check. Door, check. Bomb, check.
I believe in the previous video I've actually showcased 2.0. At that time I didn't realize that there were massive differences between 2.0 and 2.1, so definitely recommend using 2.1 or 2.2 version of Import Player. Unless you're having issues with it, then just check out the old one, I suppose.
What the hell was that? Heads up, y'all. I'm breaking formation. Yeehaw!
Yeehaw! Let's look at the gameplay. Alright, that looks pretty good to me. Actually, I think I've pushed the image up just a hair bit too far up. Oh, great, you can actually adjust it during gameplay. Awesome, look at that. Look at that, that's perfect. This is a good game when it comes to that. So I can just make it so that we're just cutting off the bottom, just a little bit. And yep, that looks good to me. Awesome, this is it. Perfect. You can set this game up awesomely. And there you go. Quake 2 on the PlayStation. PAL version running in NTSC. Not sure how this game actually runs in PAL, but I would certainly play in NTSC rather than PAL. This actually goes to show, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a rant here, how utterly careless developers are nowadays when they are bringing over these old PlayStation games to PlayStation 5 and stuff like that, right? Even the PlayStation Classic, where they've used multiple instances of just PAL games because of the language select option. Would rather use the slower, crappier PAL version just to have extra languages for everyone instead of giving you the option on which one you want to use. No, let's just bring over the PAL version and treat it horribly. Play the game at 25 FPS on a 60Hz display, because that makes sense, of course. There's nothing wrong with that, yep. Sometimes even do horrible things like Ape Escape on PS5, where the intro bit is playing at like a really choppy 30 FPS for some reason, and then probably because of the timing, and the game plays 25 FPS. It is horrible. You could just do this. You could just get the CD, get the boot CD, take your PAL game, chuck it in there, and then force your PAL game into NTSC. It works more often than not. You know, like more games I feel like work fine with this method than not. So I think you're gonna have a good experience with this method. And that's just, it just goes to show that they could probably easily do this as well for all these PS5 releases. At least in some instances where they just force the PAL game into NTSC and then, you know, there's no problem. But I think they just don't care. So make sure you don't play those trashy conversions to PS5 and whatnot. Treat yourself to some proper frame rate. But yeah, that's about it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you found it entertaining and or informative. And I'll see you again on the next one. Thank you for watching. Take care.